our present to Mayor Aaron has arrived. I'm so glad I've made so much money on my only resident subscription fan page to buy him something. Did you know I have over 1,000 subscribers? Either way, here it is, an AEW Women's chase that Mayor Aaron has been searching for forever. AEW Unrivaled 9 Thunder Rosa. He is going to love it.
Hold up. Mayor Aaron will appreciate what? That? Nah fam, that figure is mine, Queen Diva Marie.
No, it is not. This is a gift to Mayor Aaron.
Listen, that big buffoon doesn't deserve anything. Plus I was looking for a Thunder Rosa chase, and now I have one.
You are not going to take this. After what you did to him, he deserves this to make him feel better.
Your nauseating loyalty to him is exactly why this is going to happen. Get them, girls.
Betsy, no!
Your turn to hurt. What you're looking at is the future of LJV. I reprogrammed Robo Tominas to be loyal to their rightful leader, me. Together we are a group that won't stop until I am the sole mayor of LJV. You can call us Succession Day. I'm going to make Mayor Aaron retire from his mayor spot through sheer brutality. According to Succession, that would make me next in line to be the sole mayor of LumberJillville.
That is enough, co-mayor Alexa. It was uncalled for when you attacked Mayor Aaron. But now Dexy and Diva, you know our Queen Diva Marie is defenseless. I won't sit here and let you enforce such brutality on those I care about.
And what exactly are you going to do about it, Secretary Stase?
I don't prefer violence, but these are my friends you are hurting. I have no choice.
Succession Day is upon LJV, and no one can stop us. Grab my new chase figure, girls.
Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figures, like today's very exciting review of WWE Elite Series 102, Rhea Ripley. Now truth being told, it's been almost 3 months to the day since I got my last Elite, which is mind-boggling. It's been real slow as far as figure releases have gone, and I do apologize for that. Not that it's my fault or anything, but I love giving y'all first look at these figures, and hopefully we see an uptick in production this summer because there's tons of future women's wrestling figures, and I can't wait to review them. Now that being said, putting all that aside, I'm super stoked to dive into this figure. It looks really cool, and I'm interested to see how it stacks up to her previous Elite. Let's take a closer look at the figure, starting with the packaging. Alright, so starting off with the packaging here, and then we'll do an unboxing and see how easy or hard it is to get this figure out of the packaging. Now this Elite style packaging that started all the way back in Elite Series 89, it just works with Rhea Ripley, right? It's very fitting to her dark overall theme, and I think it looks really cool MOC. It's cool that she's displayed in this position. I think the one thing I'm not crazy about is the extra hands are just sitting there off to the side. I always think that's weird, especially when they're displayed in some type of order or like they meant to do that. And that's what it looks like here. So I think that's kind of bizarre. We have two hands sitting out to the side. Not a huge fan of that. But the figure does look cool displayed in the package there. We have an image of Rhea Ripley in the front. We have her name. We have the series at the top there. We have that image of Rhea up close on the side. And then on the back here, we have an image of her and a little bio. We have her height. We also have her finisher. And we have the rest of the line. Now, what's interesting is on here, it says 5'7", and I was pretty certain that she was listed around 5'9" on WWE's website. So I wonder if they actually made her height smaller on the back of the package because the figure isn't tall enough. I don't know, that's a weird theory, but either way, we'll get to that once we open it up. Now, let's see how hard or easy it is to open. I think someone taught me here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to... My master taught me to slice the box from the bottom. I'm never doing that voice again. That was a bad master splinter. Alright, yeah, so you just slice the bottom and it slides right out. Now the hands pop out. And let's see if there's any pesky plastic keeping her in. There is not, so let's get a close look. WWE Elite Series 102, Rhea Ripley. This attire is from Hell in a Cell 2022, which took place on June 5th in Rosemont, Illinois. On this night, the Judgment Day, consisting of Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Edge, would defeat the team of Liv Morgan, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor in a 6-person mixed tag team match. Alright, some overall first impressions of this figure. I think it looks really, really cool. I am noticing that I think some of the parts were reused from our Elite Series 84, which was released 2 years ago, and a lot of those parts were undersized. So it's kind of hard to tell with this jacket on, but once we take that jacket and remove it, then we'll get a better look, and we will do a comparison with that previous Elite and see if they made some upgrades or changes. But it is a very visually appealing figure, and I'm glad we get the Judgment Day Rhea Ripley in Elite form finally. Now, as far as accessories go, we do have extra hands. She comes with her heavy metal hard rock hands to do her pose, which we can actually do a better kind of cross her arms there now that we have the double jointed elbows, so that's a huge improvement. And the hands that she comes packaged with are just semi-open hands. And yes, they do have tattoo detail on them, at least this left one does, so that's really cool. Now looking at this jacket accessory is really cool. It's highly intricately detailed as far as sculpting goes. Even the paint deco with the silver paint that's going throughout, it's a nice little addition there. But yeah, this jacket has tons of sculpted and molded detail here, and it looks awesome. I don't see why you wouldn't display this figure with that on, but we are going to take it off because, I don't know, I'm interested to see what Rhea looks like underneath that. And I'll be real interested to compare it to her previous Elite. So, okay, we'll get a close look at Rhea here in 1 minute. But yeah, this jacket was pretty easy to take off. And it's a nice little additional piece here. Definitely cool to get that accessory. Now, that thing being said, let's take a closer look at the figure. Let's start off with that face. Alright, so let's talk about this face scan, face sculpt, and hair sculpt. And I am going to say this is the exact same scan and sculpt that we got before. Now, obviously, there are some additional details to this scan that does separate it from Elite Series 84. We do have the added black lipstick, the added print on her cheek, the Judgment Day logo. It's kind of like the court scale type thing. That's very cool. And then there's much heavier eyeshadow, eyeliner, and so on. She also has a slit in her right eyebrow. So there are improvements, but I know some people are disappointed because when we first saw images of this figure, I believe they were 3D renderings, and the face sculpt looked brand new. I don't know if it's just the images that were displayed to us, but I was under the impression we were getting a new sculpt and scan for Rhea, and what we got was the same thing. It's just drastically different as far as the deco goes and paint application on there, and in my opinion, it actually works. So I don't think that's a huge deal. I know a lot of people are disappointed we did not get a new scan and sculpt of Ripley, but I think this one works really, really well. And additions they made here, like I said, the lipstick, the eyeshadow, the eyeliner, even the eyebrow has a slit in there. The ears, we have, not only do we have gauges, we have that upper ear piercing that's painted silver. It's painted black in her previous Elite. We have jet black hair, and then we even have like a fade on the side that is painted black, and that was completely skin toned in her Elite 84. So yeah, I will say that it is kind of disappointing to some people, and I could see how it would be that we didn't get a new scan and sculpt, but I think this does work in my opinion, and I'm glad that they did at least make the additional details and additions to make this more lifelike to Rhea now. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the body sculpt and the attire. Alright, so moving on to the body sculpt and the attire. Now, I am happy to say, and I couldn't really tell with that entrance jacket on, but once you remove that, she has a lot of unique and upgraded body part choices, in my opinion, that really give her her physique and really show off her muscular definition and all of that. So that's really cool. Rhea definitely deserves that. Next in line is Bianca. Bianca, for the longest time in her Elites, has had really skinny legs, really tiny midsection, and so on. So it's good to see at least Rhea get some real muscular part choices, and I definitely see a huge upgrade over that Elite 84 just on part choices alone. Now, beyond that, the attire here is striking. It really stands out. I actually think this figure looks a lot better without that entrance jacket on because there's so much detail here and uniqueness to it, and I think it's excellent. So let's start right off with that choker she has on. It is a sculpted removable piece. If you pop that head off, that choker will come right off. And it has little silver molded buckles, which is really cool. Now, as far as the sculpting and molding goes, this purple top, does have a little ledge that goes around. The arm is just painted purple to give the appearance that it's its own little piece. And that purple is sort of metallic. It's really hard to tell, but it does have a little bit of a metallic type shine. Very tiny bit. Now she also has some sculpted detail as far as the straps on her top. Now it looks like she has a bra strap underneath, and on top of that is an off skin tone color to give the appearance of a mesh top, and that mesh top coloration goes over the arm and also over most of the midsection. Now what's really cool about that is even with that mesh covering, we still see tattoo detail underneath, and that's just a really cool addition there. Now looking at the arm, looking at the detail here, we can see the tattoo detail is still pretty striking as far as intricate detail that went into it. Even under the mesh, it really stands out. It even comes out down here past that mesh. And on the abdomen here, we have it covered up half with the mesh and then half exposed, which is really, really cool. Now, moving on down to the bottoms here, obviously you'll see this very unique, very cool piece, I guess you could say, and it is removable. It looks like it does have a buckle that it can come off. I just wouldn't advise it because that's probably a pain to put back on, but either way, it's really cool that we have this piece. It has sculpted chains hanging from it, and then we have these little straps that go around, and that's very accurate, very realistic, and it's awesome, and it's hidden under that jacket. So once again, I really do think that displaying this figure without that entrance jacket is the way to go to really appreciate all this detail. Now, the bottoms here are just painted on with little purple designs, but the purple is done in a metallic type purple, and it looks really, really cool. Now, going down to the legs, we have fishnet stockings painted on over her tattoo detail, which once again is very awesome. Very good job on the tattoo detail here. And then her boots have a lot of sculpting going on, especially with the straps, little silver studs, silver buckles. Very, very cool. So as far as the body sculpt goes, I was blown away because they did an excellent job with the part choices. And I'm glad to see that because a lot of times they can make these real muscular women very undersized. We've seen that a lot with Bianca's Elites. And we saw it with Rhea's previous Elite, but here they knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. I think this attire, as far as the sculpting detail goes, the tattoo detail, the fishnet, the mesh, this unique centerpiece here, I can't say enough good about the attire. This figure is freaking awesome. Next up, let's do a side-by-side comparison. Now, she does have a couple basics as well. One that was in a Showdown 2-pack. Also a basic in the regular series that I believe is her first-in-the-line figure. And I have to say that those are not worth putting up here because they're pretty terrible in the long run. For what they are, they're decent basics, but the body part choices on those are ridiculous. They have a long Kermit the Frog legs. So I do think her previously best figure was Elite Series 84, and that's where we're going to compare the two Elites. So yes, on the left we have Elite Series 84 released 2 years ago, and on the right, obviously, we have today's Elite. And as you can see, they are very different figures. That face sculpt, face scan is the exact same, but the paint detail here is so much different that it does make it appear like it's a new scan and sculpt. So I think the improvements they made it passable to use that same sculpt and scan of the face. I think that's fine. I think they did an excellent job there. Now, like I mentioned, the part choices are an improvement on that new Elite. And as you can see on this Elite Series 84, I think the biggest problem are the legs. The legs are real skinny and long, and we see that time and time again. A lot of these women that are above 5'6", I would say, WWE tends to give them these elongated limbs that don't really give them their physique that they deserve. So yeah, these legs on this Rhea are way too skinny, whereas they are a lot more muscular over here. And on top of that, she's not wearing those long pants covering, so we really see muscle definition. It looks great. Also, the midsection over here is weird, and that top is also a strange shape. And I don't think she has broad enough shoulders in her previous Elite, and they fixed that in this new Elite 102. So I think for what it was, and this Elite 84 did come with a vest here that I believe Alexa actually stole when she turned heel, to be honest with you. But she did come with an entrance vest, and that's cool, and this figure was cool to put on display. But in my opinion, I mean, there are some very goofy, very cartoonish looking proportions here on this Elite 84. And in my opinion, they fixed that on this Elite 102. And I couldn't tell, or I didn't know what to expect with this figure because all the images I saw, she was wearing that entrance jacket. But when that entrance jacket is removed, I mean, this figure is, honestly, it's a work of art. All right, so now let's take a look at articulation here. So as far as the head goes, she can't really look down too far. She can look right okay. She can look left okay. Can't really look up. The head movement is pretty limited on the women's Mattel figures. I will say that, but that's not a huge factor in the overall score because to me it's not that important. But either way, okay, the shoulder is on a ball joint, can go in all different directions. She has an upper bicep swivel. She has double jointed elbows for the first time, so she can really bring in those hands, which is very cool. And those elbows can flex maximally. We have an upper torso swivel, which can move in all different directions. We have a waist swivel, which moves pretty good. Even with this accessory on in the midsection, she can still swivel pretty good. Her hip is on a ball joint, can move in all different directions, but doesn't move back too well, to be honest with you. We have an upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees for maximum flexion there. We have an upper boot swivel, and the foot can plantar flex, dorsiflex, and it can rock side to side. And I will say that was a big problem with her previous Elite was I think the weakest ankles of any figure I have goes to that Elite 84 Ripley, and these ankles don't feel a whole lot more stable in my opinion. We'll see. I'll let you know if she falls down a bunch of my shelves, but either way, the articulation is the best we've ever gotten in a Rhea Ripley figure, and it is amazing. Alright, so I just wanted to show you something real quick so you can kind of see what I was talking about earlier as far as the part choice upgrades here on Rhea Ripley. Now, I am going to say, and I've said this before, that as far as Mattel and Jazzwares goes with their women's figures and scale, that's been thrown out the window a long time ago. I don't care what those companies say, their figures are not in scale with each other. At least if you compare all the women next to each other, they're just not. Now, in my opinion, that's not a deal breaker on the figure. However, in certain cases, it definitely is a problem, and one of those cases is Bianca Belair. So Bianca and Rhea are both listed on the WWE website at 5'7", so they're around the same height, and they're both very muscular. Their physiques are very amazing, and here we can see them side by side, and you can see just how much better Rhea Ripley is as far as her leg definition, her midsection, her shoulders are much broader. And yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying earlier, how Bianca has really cool figures. Like, I love this Elite 91, but it needs to be more muscular, right? They just haven't done that job too well as far as her figures go, but we are getting an Ultimate Bianca, and hopefully they improve it. But here, when you put these figures side by side, you can see that they did make Rhea Ripley pretty strong looking, and that's definitely a plus. So overall, I give WWE Elite Series 102 Rhea Ripley an overall score of a 9.8 out of 10. This figure is the clear-cut frontrunner for LJV Figure of the Year for 2023, and it's going to be hard to beat. Now, it's kind of crazy because when I first saw images of this figure, and even MOC images of the figure, I didn't think it would even get a 9, right? But that entrance jacket covers up so much of the sculpted detail, so much about this figure, that they really went the extra mile with the tattoo detail, the mesh paint, the fishnet stockings paint, this unique sculpted piece here, and most importantly, the upgrade on the body part choices that give her her muscular physique. Now, to be completely honest, they probably could be a little bit bigger still, but either way, it's a big leap, especially from what we saw with Elite 91 Bianca Belair, to give Rhea Ripley the physique that she deserves in figure form. I think they did a good job. Now, the only reason it's not a perfect 10 is I do wish that we got a brand new sculpt and scan of the face, but like I said in the review, this works fine, and they did make really good improvements to it, but it's kind of disappointing because that last Elite came out 2 years ago. I mean, they had 2 years to give us a new sculpt and scan, and I really wish they would have, because I do feel that her head might be a little too small, as weird as that sounds. It kind of looks tiny when you're displaying it on the shelf next to other figures. I don't know what it is, but either way, that's the only real knock I have against this figure, because like I said, this figure is tremendous. There's so much detail, so much effort, and so much care that went into this figure that I can't say enough good about it, and honestly, I didn't expect to be, but I'm blown away by it. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, make sure to head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Now stay tuned, there are some really exciting women's wrestling figures coming to LJV very, very shortly, including AEW Unrivaled 12 Jamie Hayter and WWE Basic Series 139 Liv Morgan. I'm real excited for those figures, can't wait to review them, and hopefully by then we figure things out with Comair Alexa. Anyway, have a great night, y'all, and thanks for watching.